And I'm back. I literally 2 minutes ago just finished a list show. Volume 14 was the top 10 films of 2015. So we're going backwards 5 years now. And we're going to be doing the top 15 films of 2010. And for those who might not get the nuance or whatever, the reason why I choose these numbers is because that's the anniversary of it. The last episode was top 10 films of 2015. They came out 10 years ago. These are the top 15 films of 2010. They came out 15 years ago. It's always these zeros and five numbers are always what sort of draws everybody's attention to it. As I say, I got two more, but I'm probably not going to cover them because they're a lot longer. Top 20 films of 2005 and top 35 films of 1990, which is going to be a really long one. But because again, 35th anniversary, 20th anniversary, stuff like that. But I've done some of the other ones already. I've done the top 25 films of 2000. So I already did that one already. And then I did the top 30 films of 1995. So I did those two already. So you can find those on my show down here. So again, I didn't do this on the last volume, the last list show, but I'm doing it again here. This is my list. These are films that I like, I enjoyed, that I consider the best of the year. They might not be your favorite. They might not be in the same order as yours. I am not a film connoisseur, film nerd guy who absolutely thinks they're superior to everybody. And I hate people who think that they're superior to everybody when liking of films or books or TV shows or whatever is subjective to the person. And you don't have to say, I like it. And if you don't like it, you're stupid. That is the dumbest thing you ever come up with. So this is my list. You don't like it, make your own list. I don't care. This is my list. These are films I like. You might think I'm stupid. I don't care. I don't like all the types of films you might like. I'm not a film connoisseur. I don't give a rat's ass about that. I enjoy watching movies, and I enjoy watching movies that are entertaining, that I find interesting. Now, as always, I do 2 to 3 honorable mentions. I have 3 here. First up is The Social Network, the adaptation by David Fincher of creation of Facebook. So that's pretty decent. It was a decent film, but just not one of my utter favorites of the year. Next up was Love and Other Drugs, which, to be fair, the only other reason why I really like it is because of the nudity of Anne Hathaway, because I like Anne Hathaway a lot. I just have a crush on her, and it was nice to see her doing something more adult. I hate Jake Gyllenhaal, so having him in there just sort of, and it's a weird little film too, but it was well worth it for Anne Hathaway. And that's all I have to say about that. The last one is, I have this listed just because of the idea of it, is The Expendables. It's not a great movie, but Sylvester Stallone decided to come up with a film idea which brought back the 1980s style action film. And he got all of his old sort of 1980s action film buddies to come back and become this sort of team to team up and take on like villainous things and do it like a 1980s style action film. And you add some other action stars from the more recent decades, but it was, the main focus was on the main characters from the 1980s action films, and even had cameo roles by Arnold Schwarzenegger and Bruce Willis as well, whose roles expand in the later ones. It was good enough that it expanded to about 3 or 4 different movies, has pretty amazing cast of action stars if you're a big action star fan, and that's really the only reason why it's an honorable mention. It's not a really great movie, but it's fun and entertaining, and that's all that really matters about it. But that's also why it's not in my top 15. Number 15, one of my favorite directors, rest in peace, very underrated director, doesn't get the credit for a lot of stuff he deserves. Tony Scott, who is Ridley Scott's brother, he committed suicide a few years ago, which is terrible, but he's still a decent action film star. And when you make an action film called Unstoppable, about a subway car that is unstoppable and it can't be stopped, and it's heading towards populated area, and you bring in Denzel Washington, Chris Pine to take it down, you're going to get a fun, entertaining, enjoyable action film with a great cast. And Tony Scott, as I said, is one of my favorite directors and is a very deft hand. For those who might not know who Tony Scott is, he also directed Top Gun, Beverly Hills Cop 2, and True Romance are the three of the big ones I remember the most. I think he also did Man on Fire. He worked with Denzel a lot, and this one is just continuing his Denzel. And you throw Chris Pine there, who is, I feel, is also a very underrated actor. And it's a very fun, enjoyable action film, sort of reminiscent of the old school action films from the 90s. Liked it immensely. That's why it's number 15. Number 14, as I mentioned earlier, I have kind of a Jones for Anne Hathaway. But that's not the only reason why I put this one at number 14, because this is actually a pretty decent idea. Gary Marshall, God rest his soul, also. His last 3 movies, I think, he had come up with an idea, and me being like a holiday type of person, Gary Marshall had come up with the idea to make an ensemble film set during a holiday, but like some of the lesser known holidays, not a Christmas or a Halloween, or anything big, 4th of July, anything big like that. They decided to scale it back a little bit. He did Mother's Day, he did New Year's Eve, and he did Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day is number 14. Great ensemble cast. I have to get this right because there is just so much in it and so many disparate stories. So it's an ensemble story which has a connective thread of characters through there's like 4 or 5 different stories, and it has sort of a connective thread. Characters come in and out of each other's stories. And it's not maybe one of the best films of all time, but being set on Valentine's Day gives you the absolute right to watch it every Valentine's Day, like they did with a Groundhog Day or any of the Christmas movies or like that. But Valentine's Day, let me get you the cast list here, because it is a phenomenal cast list. Julia Roberts, Anne Hathaway, Jessica Biel, Bradley Cooper, Jamie Foxx, Jennifer Garner, Jessica Alba, Emma Roberts, Taylor Lautner, Ashton Kutcher, Taylor Swift, Eric Dane, Kathy Bates, Patrick Dempsey, Topher Grace, Hector Elizondo, Queen Latifah, Shirley MacLaine, George Lopez, and then the rest are not quite as famous, but there are a bunch of. But that's Larry Miller, Kathleen Marshall, Tracy Reiner, Kristen Shaw, just a Ziggy Marley. So just a insane cast, and all their storylines sort of interact with each other, and they all have their own stories, but the characters somehow are connected in different ways and means. And it's a very interesting take on it. And he did the same thing for New Year's Eve, did the same thing for Mother's Day. I don't think he did any other ones, but those were like the last 3 movies he did before he passed away. So Valentine's Day is number 14. Well worth it to take a look at it when Valentine's Day rolls around if you haven't checked it out yet. Definitely great cast, and particularly fun to see a uber young Taylor Swift, 15 years younger, which made her about in her 20s in this film, when she was still dating Taylor Lautner. And they play a couple in this movie, a high school, a couple in this one. And she absolutely kills it in the role. It's a very small role. And Julia plays a character a little bit different than you're expecting also. And each character sort of has a mystery. Anne Hathaway plays a character you're not expecting either. She's married to Topher Grace, or together with Topher Grace. Ashton Kutcher's in there. He's sort of the one who's sort of the connective thread through everything, because he runs a flower shop. So it sort of runs through all sort of things there, and he's connected to this and that and stuff like that. As I said, fantastic cast. I read you the cast list. It's amazing. You can't go wrong with it. Number 13 again. It's my number 13, and I know when you talk to the film enthusiasts, connoisseurs, geeks, nerds, the people who think they're better than you when it comes to films, they think Edgar Wright is one of the God-given directors out there, and everything that he does is magic. And I like Edgar Wright, but I hate when they sort of throw that onto people. There are only specific directors you could really kind of throw that on there. and they earned it, and they've done it for years. Spielberg is the first one that comes to my mind right now. And Edgar Wright has done a lot of entertaining movies, but by all means, he's not the greatest of all time sort of thing that these film enthusiasts did, or that he cannot lose, even though his movie might not be great. It's the type of people who, the movie's not great, they will still say how great it was because it's the director by Edgar Wright. But this one is based on a comic book. It's Scott Pilgrim versus the World, another very well done cast and a weird little storyline, which adds to its charm and why it's in the list here, is because everybody's looking for interesting and new ideas. And yes, it's an adaptation of a comic book, which has also spun off into a anime series on Netflix. But when you have a cast of all, this is in 2010, so all these actors right now really were not huge at the time. Michael Cera, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Aubrey Plaza, Kieran Culkin, Chris Evans, Brie Larson, Eileen Wong, Allison Pill, Brandon Roth, Jason Schwartzman, Anna Kendrick, Mae Whitman, Bill Hader, Eric Knudsen, and then again, there's a whole bunch of other people that didn't make it as much. But in 2010, all those names I set up there, they were not like fully huge actors yet. I mean, this sort of started them on their path, and it's definitely worthwhile. It's a unique storyline. So people who are looking for something different than your typical movies, you might want to check this out. A guy falls in love with a girl, but in order to win her heart, he's got to defeat all her former exes. And she was bi, so he has to take on both men and women, and they all have distinct personalities, and they all have their own different sort of superpowers, anime powers, whatever you want to call it. It is definitely a unique film, a unique storyline, and it's number 13 on my list just because I liked it. But again, maybe I'm colored by the fact that everybody was screaming about how it's one of the greatest films of all time. I think my daughter likes it a lot, and that Edgar Wright is God, stuff like that. And that sort of pushes me the wrong way and sometimes colors my take on things. Now, again, something else I forgot to mention is the lists are fluid. So if I did this list again next year, which I wouldn't, but if I did, the numbers might be different. The movies might be out of order because I might have seen other movies set in 2010 that are not on this list that I haven't seen that I might like better than others, or I might revisit some of these films and discover that I like them better or worse than what I did before. But for now, in this moment, Scott Pilgrim versus the World is number 13, and I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. Number 12 is interesting, a remake that is better than the original. The Coen brothers are one of the best. That's another really good, phenomenal directing team that you can pretty much count on to be very good. And they did a remake of the old Western called True Grit. I think John Wayne was in it. I think Jeff Bridges. It's Haley Steinfeld's first film, I think. And just it's a phenomenal story. It's a fantastic remake of a classic Western that in and of itself, when it came out in the 50s or 60s, had issues with it due to the climate of the time. And the Coen brothers version here makes it better and turns it out into a much better film. This movie is one of the reasons why remakes are not always a terrible idea. And this was actually, as I said, probably better than the original film. And it's just because the Coen brothers have a better grasp of things. They can do more things now. And they saw the reaction to the movies from the 1960s and saw what people were saying about it and were able to make some changes, finagle, and turn it into a Coen brothers film while still kind of making it a remake of the old Western film. I think John Ford directed it. And it's very entertaining, very well done. But again, it's not one of my favorites, but it's got the number 12 slot on my list. So it's good enough that I enjoyed it, and I think you would like it too. Number 11, Tim Burton is one of my favorite directors of all time. and he has had some missteps recently, and that's okay. This film sort of brought him back. He has this cycle where he's really, really hot for a while, and then he has a couple of flops, and then he gets really, really hot again, and then he has a couple of flops, and then he gets really, really hot again. He has some flops, and he gets really, so it's up and down, up and down, up and down. And this film came at the absolutely right time. It was during the rise of 3D for whatever reason in the 2010s, the late 2000s. 3D became huge again, and theaters realized they could charge more money for a 3D version of the film. A lot of the MCU movies did a 3D version of the film. And I think part of it was Avatar was the one that brought a lot of that out into the open when it made close to $1 billion due to its 3D sort of thing. So they sort of looked at it. And then this film comes out in a 3D format and absolutely kills it also, makes $1 billion also due to the 3D format, stuff like that. And it's Tim Burton with a typical cast, and it's an adaptation of a film that has been done, a story that's been done over and over again, but it's a new take on it from Tim Burton. It's Tim Burton's version of Alice in Wonderland. Again, another phenomenal cast. And again, showing my bias towards Anne Hathaway because she's in this as well. So you can't fault me for that. But she's very good in it. Helena Bonham Carter, Johnny Depp, of course. This is in the middle of their interactions with Tim Burton being in most of his stuff. Alan Rickman, one of his last films he ever did. Well, actually, he died in 2016, so not really. Mia Wasikowska was the main star. Crispin Glover is also in it. Let's see who else. Michael Sheen played the White Rabbit. Martin Zakis, Michael Goh, Timothy Spall, Stephen Fry, Christopher Lee, Imelda Staunton. As I said, once again, a lot of actors that don't really know a lot of, but it was did very well in the movie theaters. Was a 3D hit, and 3D made close to $1 billion. Spun off a sequel that Burton did not have anything to do with, but brought back the majority of the cast. And definitely a very Burton-esque version of it, but Alice in Wonderland is a sort of type of film that Tim Burton is more famous for. He's known for these kind of weird things, and it doesn't get as much love because it was during that time where he was casting Johnny Depp and Helena Bonham Carter and everything, which I have no problems with, but a lot of people did. It was also, as I said, the beginning of this 3D craze, again, that I still don't quite get. I watched a couple movies in 3D, but it really didn't do much for me, to be honest. It was just making more money for the movies to get them out there. Thankfully, luckily, the 3D has sort of died off a little bit and hasn't been as prevalent. But I remember this period that it was just crazy. I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this because it is not a great adaptation of it, only due to the fact of the age of the characters that do not match the ages that are in the book that it's adapting. But it has a director who I like a lot. That I like a lot. And he was trying to do Harry Potter, but for the American version of it, which is Percy Jackson, the Olympians. The actual first film, directed by Chris Columbus, starred Logan Lerman, Alessandra Daddario, and Brandon T. Jackson as the big three, but also had Sean Bean and Pierce Brosnan, Melina Kankaridis, Rosario Dawson, Catherine Keener, Joe Pantoliano. I know I'm missing somebody. I think Uma Thurman was in it. If I remember correctly. I'm just going through this as everybody's. Let's see. That's just all the movies. So let's just see here. Percy Jackson. I'm pretty sure Uma Thurman was in it. Yeah, Uma Thurman. Yep. And who played Ares? Steve Coogan was in it. But it was the first adaptation of it, and they just unfortunately aged up the characters a little too much. It was supposed to be younger kids starting off like the Harry Potter series was, but they started them off more as teenagers. But the cast is pretty decent, and it's Chris Columbus's deft hand at directing. It wasn't quite the adaptation that fans of the book series were looking for. And at this time, my kids were young enough that they were, I think they were too young because Noah was only 1. Noelle was 3-ish, 4. She was 4, actually. Noah was, was 1. He born in 2009, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So Noah was 1. Noelle was like 4. So they weren't quite into it just yet when the movie came out, but a few years later, they were into the books, and then when the movies came out, we watched the first one, and it was fine. As I said, the second one was worse because they totally just decided to go their own way, and Chris Columbus had nothing to do with it. So, but they did cast Nathan Fillion as Hermes, which was a great choice. That was the only really good thing about the second film. But the first one is still a fairly decent adaptation of the book. Just again, the main issue was the characters were too old, but it was still an entertaining version, and it's nice to check out periodically. It might be good to check out again. And there you go. So that's number 10. Number 9 is the animated version of How to Train Your Dragon, which DreamWorks had another big hit on their hand. It's a phenomenal story, gorgeously animated. Got 3 movies made out of it, and then a live action version that made a whole shit ton of money. The second live action version is being in production right now, due to come out. I don't think it's supposed to be out till 2027, but How to Train Your Dragon is such a really good storyline, and DreamWorks actually does a pretty decent with animation as well. This proves it, and very happy with it, and it's a very entertaining series. Number 8 is we haven't had a really good adult comedy movie in a long time. So then you add adult comedy to a high concept idea, and you get the bizarre number 8, Hot Tub Time Machine. John Cusack in it plays the guy who had 3 other friends who back in the 80s, they were like hot shit, but their lives have taken a bad direction, and they're all unhappy middle-aged people now, and they want to try to relive their glory days. So they go back to the ski resort they used to hang out at all the time when they were younger, but is now broken down, decrepit, nobody's there, and it's just a mess. And they get a place to sit to try to see if they can relive their glory days. And they have a hot tub, which is right part of their unit, that magically transports them back to the 1980s. Now, here's the interesting thing. Their adult minds and souls are inside the bodies of their high school versions. So they're, to everybody else out there, it's their high school looks. But from their perspective, they're the grown-ups, and they remember everything that happened at this specific party. And they have to follow the rules directly, or they might alter the past, alter the future irrevocably, and could destroy them and the time and the space time continuum. Kind of a little edge to Back to the Future. Speaking of which, Crispin Glover appears as the unlucky bellhop. Sebastian Stan, in one of his earliest appearances, plays the bad guy, the 1980s sort of tough guy type of character that was in every 1980s film. And you get John Cusack, who was a big member of those 1980s films as well. But it is truly an adult humored comedy film, high concept. You even have Chevy Chase makes an appearance as well. There's sex and nudity, and other 1980s icons make appearances in there as well as different characters. It's a love letter to the 1980s, but it's also kind of a, as I said, a adult comedy where the characters are really not all that likable. Even John Cusack's character is not quite as likable as all the other ones also. But it is definitely a high concept. It is definitely a very adult comedy. But it does have its moments, and the name itself, Hot Tub Time Machine, is just amazing, and is actually my brother-in-law Mike's one of his favorite movies of all time, and we watched it on New Year's a few years ago. So kind of interesting. So that's number 8. Number 7, Disney has always been known about doing really good animated versions, particularly with the princesses, stuff like that. This one is no exception. This is Tangled, is number 7. Great animation, great storyline, great vocal cast. Their take on Rapunzel, which is a really kind of, to me, it's kind of a sort of a unique sort of version. I didn't really know the Rapunzel storyline, and I don't know how closely it resembles the fairy tale, but it is definitely one of the more entertaining animated princess films from Disney. Again, came out right when my kids were just growing up and they were young kids, and this was the type of film that they would watch over and over again. We bought it on DVD. We played it in our van. It had a VCR TV that came down so they could watch stuff in the back, and we could put the movies in there while we were on big trips and stuff like that. And that was one of their favorite movies to watch. So it's fun, it's entertaining, and it's great fun. And I enjoyed it immensely. And I think it's a underrated princess film that doesn't really get talked about all that much, really. They're trying to start up a live action version of it, and there have been some rumors that they've been testing actors for certain roles, and they think they want to bring Jennifer Aniston in as the bad guy, which would be very interesting if that's the case. But we'll see what comes of that, and we'll probably be talking about the live action version in a little bit. But right now, there is no live action version. As I said, I think they're just starting out on that right now. But just check out the animated version first of all; it's really, really good. Number 6 is one of the, I don't think it's mid, it's a little bit better than that, but the Harry Potter movie series did something that not a lot of movie series can do. They adapted all the books. There are 7 books into 8 movies, and they had to make the last film be a 2-parter so they could milk the cash cow. I think you probably could have made the last film into 1 film. You should have made Goblet of Fire into 2 films. I think they did a fantastic job of excising the garbage in number 5 and made it one of the better movies of the series. Number 6, they should have done a lot more work on, but it was kind of a let's rush it out there and get it done because we want to get to number 7. So my number 6 is Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1. The first part came out in the fall of 2010. The second part came out, and the final Harry Potter movie came out in the summer of 2011. So next year, when I do the top 15 films of 2016, or rather, of 2011, of 2011, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 will probably be somewhere on the list. I have to take a look and see what other films came out in 2011 to see where it would fit in the rankings, but it will definitely be there. Personally, I thought the second part was better than the first part. It was tighter, it was shorter, and it was what had the most action, because the first part of the Deathly Hallows is very kind of a long setup. Now they have some action sequences. The beginning part with the seven Harrys, and the battle in the air, the broomstick battle in the air, and then the wedding, and then they're getting away from the Death Eaters, and Ron, Hermione, and Harry go into London proper and discover Sirius's old house and use that as a base as they're trying to find these Horcruxes that are to destroy Voldemort, and they have to keep running due to various reasons. So it's a lot of them just traveling around doing stuff, and that was what the book was like as well. So it's a decent adaptation of it. It's fine. Not one of my favorite versions of the Harry Potter movies, but still decent enough. Much better than number 6 was. Much better than the overrated number 3, to be honest. And I liked 1 and 2, but it might fit somewhere around that point as well. And we'll talk about Harry Potter and Goblet of Fire when I do one of the other ones. I think that came out in 2005. Yeah. So we'll talk about that when I get around to it. I'm not doing that one after this one. After this video, I'm done for the day, probably. So Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1 is number 6. Number 5 is a film that probably a lot of people don't know about, but is one of those sort of, it's supposed to be like a teen film, but it's got an indie sort of streak to it, kind of like She's All That, where it starts off as, it's kind of a teen film. It's got the teen film sort of stylization, but then it goes off on a couple different tangents that makes it a little bit different, a little bit more unique, independent teen film. And Easy A is very similar to that. Emma Stone, Stanley Tucci, I forget the actress, the mom. She's really good. Also, I'm gonna give her props too. So Emma Stone, Amanda Bynes, Penn Badgley, Stanley Tucci, Lisa Kudrow, Patricia Clarkson, Thomas Hayden Church, Malcolm McDowell, Fred Armisen. And it's a great story too. And Bryce Clyde Jenkins, who plays the brother. It's a great story. As I said, it's supposed to be just a typical sort of teen film, but it has this sort of indie cred side to it. And the premise is really interesting. Emma Stone plays kind of a loose cannon, quiet sort of girl in high school, kind of the nerdy, artsy, goth sort of girl who doesn't really have a lot of friends, is not one of the popular kids or whatever. And she's in love with one of the more popular guys in school, but she really can't do anything about it. I think she was adopted by Stanley Tucci and Patricia Clarkson, who are parent goals. They are absolutely hysterical in the movie. Probably the best part of the movie is Stanley Tucci and Patricia Clarkson. And Emma's really good. This is the first movie I think I really remember Emma Stone in. And so one of her friends is gay, and he's in the closet. And some people are starting to discover that he doesn't want to, because back then, 2010, it's still, particularly in high school, it was back then you didn't really want to announce you were gay because you would probably get a lot of backlash, undeservedly. But it was just something that they kind of want to keep quiet. So he paid his friend Emma Stone to pretend that they had sex together, and maybe I think audio taped it or videotaped or something like that, pretended that they simulated sex or whatever. And it gets circulated around the campus, and it shows that, he's not gay. So then everybody starts liking the gay guy now because he seems to be kind of cool. And then they treat Emma Stone's character as an outcast because she's a slut, as it was. And that's where the A comes in, because they kind of go back to the Scarlet Letter for adultery sort of thing, even though it wasn't really. Pepper, he scratched me in the back. Not really adultery, but it's just sort of a way to. And so more people discover what she's done, and they start paying her to make them look cool also by pretending to have sex with her as well. I know it sounds wild, but it's actually a very good film, very entertaining, a lot of fun. As I said, Stanley Tucci and Patricia Clarkson are the best part of that movie, and absolutely worth it. It's been a while. It's been a hot minute since I've seen it, and I think I kind of want to show my daughter because I think she would really enjoy it. But it's definitely worthwhile, and that's why it's number 5. Number 4 is the third, yes, you heard me right, the third MCU movie. After Iron Man and the Incredible Hulk, we have Iron Man 2. Robert Downey Jr. returns as Tony Stark with a much bigger paycheck. We have Sam Rockwell comes in, plays one of the bad guys. We have the return of God damn it. I hate that I don't remember all this shit. And then 2. Jon Favreau returns as Happy Hogan. Mickey Rourke is the bad guy. Don Cheadle makes his first appearance as James Rhodes. Scarlett Johansson appears for the first time as Natasha Romanoff, the Black Widow. Gwyneth Paltrow returns. Stan Lee's cameo. Kate Mara is a U.S. Marshal. Leslie Bibb returns. Samuel L. Jackson makes an appearance as Nick Fury. Clark Gregg pops up as Phil Coulson. Olivia Munn is in it as well. Paul Bettany is the voice of Jarvis. John Slattery plays grown-up Howard Stark. Unfortunately, Elon Musk makes an appearance in it as well. Gary Shandling's in it. Tim Guiney. Christina Amanpour. And it's a decent sequel to Iron Man. I have some issues with it, which makes it not as good as the original Iron Man, but I do enjoy certain aspects of it. I enjoy the first appearance of Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow. And the storyline itself is kind of interesting and makes kind of sense. The device that's keeping Tony alive is actually killing him due to its radiation or whatever is leaking out. So he's got to figure out a way to, create something that will keep him alive but not kill him, that sort of thing. And he doesn't know how to do it. So he looks at this is the end of his life. So he starts kind of acting, like let's the big party. I'm getting ready to die anyway. So let's just, blow everything to the wind. But then other things start happening as well and stuff like that. But it's fairly entertaining. And Sam Rockwell as always, is great in it as well. Mickey Rourke as the bad guy it was during the time where he was getting hot again due to Sin City and stuff like that. It was kind of like, okay, that's fine. Jon Favreau comes back as Happy Hogan and also directs again, but it was Downey continuing his reign as Tony Stark and continuing his making him be the face of the MCU. After the success of the first one, he started making more money, started doing more films. He got the Sherlock Holmes movies from that and stuff like that. So you are continuing to see that. And the mid-credit sequence sets up Thor, which is the next one that comes out after it, which is very entertaining as well. You also get Samuel L. Jackson gets a little bit more to do in this one. This is his second appearance in the MCU and is a little bit more to do than he was the end credit sequence of Iron Man. You get to see him more involved, and Don Cheadle makes his first appearance, replacing the one actor that was the character in the first movie that was trying to ask for more money, but didn't happen. That wasn't good for him. So Iron Man 2's number 4 is okay. Not one of my favorites, but it's still decent enough that it's entertaining, and it's a decent sequel to Iron Man. Number 3 is a film that surprised the heck out of me. I talked about the prequel to it in my last show. This one came out of nowhere, kind of surprised a lot of people and became a huge hit. Despicable Me from Illumination, a great animation group that has made a bunch of really good films since then. And Despicable Me was the first one that really got it in there. Steve Carell as Gru, who is a bad guy who, in order to continue his streak as trying to be the best bad guy, because there's a new bad guy trying to go into his turf, he adopts 3 young girls to use them to try to get dirt on his enemy. But instead, he becomes because he adopted them, he becomes their father, and they teach him that there's more to life than being a criminal. And he, of course, starts off not liking the girls, but eventually becomes protective of them and becomes a dad figure for them, and all works out in the end. It's a great film showing the progression of a villain who has no morals. He meets these three girls who he's just pretending to take care of, but then eventually falls in love with them as a dad to daughters and wants to make sure that they are safe and happy. And that changes up everything that he does to try to make things better. It's a wonderful film, very well done. Illumination came swinging right out of the bat, and right off the bat, I guess. And the first film in the series is good. It's spawned off 3 more sequels and then 2 Minion sequels as well. And we get more characters. All the movies are pretty decent. Enjoyed them immensely. And the first one is still, to me, is still the best one. And it's just, you can't go wrong with it. It's high time I watch it again. I like it so much, but I haven't seen it in a while. Despicable Me is number 3. Number 2 is Toy Story 3, which to me is the final Toy Story movie. I had never seen the 4th one and really have no desire to see the 4th one, and really have no desire to see the 5th one. The 3rd one ended so perfectly, has some of the hardest scenes you're ever going to see in an animated film. Has a great vocal cast. Michael Keaton joins the cast as Ken from Barbie and Ken. And we get, I forget who plays the bear. Really good actor plays the voice of the bear, but you get a really good final ending to the original Toy Story trilogy, where Andy's now grown up in college, going to college, and the toys have been sitting, not being played with because he's older, doesn't play with them anymore. And so the mother's trying to figure out what to do with them, and ends up taking them to a nursing home, or not nursing home, a daycare center, where the kids come and play with them too rough, and they got to try to figure out a way to get back to Andy because they don't think they're going to survive. But then they meet up with another group of stuffed animals who are at that daycare center, who are treated better because they're not in the kindergarten or in the baby section. They're the more grown-up kids ones who treat them better. And a war ensues between them. But it has one of the hardest and deepest finales where it doesn't look like the toys are going to make it, and you've seen them through 3 movies, and you got the type of word of it. You feel for them, and you're scared for them to see what's going to happen. And it is one of the best endings out there. And then it ends perfectly on the last scene, as they start their new home and stuff like that. Phenomenal. And then number 4 came along. I haven't seen it, but it seems like, from what I heard, it just kind of ruins how the 3rd one ended. And I kind of just say, okay, 3rd was the last one. That's all I'm going to take a look at. And so that's why it's number 2, because it's so good. I'll tell you what, number 1, if I did not rewatch this movie recently, I watched it a few months ago, it would probably not be number 1. It'd probably be in the 6, 7 range, probably. It's still a really good movie, but when I first saw it, there's a lot you have to keep an eye on and a lot to try to figure out, because, again, the director loves his high concept stuff, and he absolutely kills it on this movie. And it's definitely high concept. It's something that you've never been seen before. A phenomenal cast taking it on. But the story, when you first see it, it's kind of confusing. And a second watch, you start to realize, okay, I get it. And that's what Inception is. Inception is number 1. Best movie for me of 2010. As I said, I watched it recently, and I absolutely loved it. I had only seen it one time previous. As I said, would probably be in the 6, 7 range if I did not see it again, because my daughter wanted to see it. and I finally understood everything about it. And it is an amazing visual treat that only Christopher Nolan can give you. Fantastic score by Hans Zimmer, who can really seem like he can do no wrong, and that's good. Um, and just a phenomenal cast in general, uh, taking it down. It's one of my favorite Leonardo DiCaprio performances, better than some of his Scorsese stuff. That, and the thing is, his Scorsese stuff is fine, but I like his work when he's not with Scorsese. His work with Spielberg, his work with Christopher Nolan, in my eyes, are better than his work with Scorsese. That's just me, though. But here's your cast, though. Leonardo DiCaprio, Cillian Murphy, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Tom Hardy, Elliot Page, Marion Cotillard, Ken Watanabe, Michael Caine, Tom Berenger, Lucas Haas, Pete Postlethwaite. As I said, just a bunch of people who are just not as big actors as them, but that's your cast right there. And it's just the type of movie that when you see it the first time, because my daughter kind of got it right away. She kind of understood what was going on with it. But when I first saw it years ago, I had a little bit more trouble trying to figure it out. But she kind of understood what was going on, and it was a little bit easier for her to follow. So it might work out for you if you've never seen it before to try it out for the first time. But I would highly recommend at least watching it twice to fully get the grasp of it, because it is that good and there's a lot going on. And as I said, high concept about entering people's dreams and changing and adding suggestions to their mind through their dreams to get something that you want. So you gotta love it. I said, great cast, great score, great movie. As I said, a little complicated when you first see it, but as I said, my daughter figured it out on her first watch through. It took me 2 watch throughs to really kind of get it and understand it. And also, that kind of depends when you watch, also, because Interstellar, I didn't watch till like 2023, 2024, like 2023, probably like almost 10 years after it came out. And I got it kind of right away. If I had seen it when Interstellar first came out, it might take me a little bit of time to figure it out. But when I saw it, I was older. I understood it better. And that's, I think, what's happened with Inception here is I understood it a lot better. But yeah, phenomenal cast, great story. And it's great to see Leonardo DiCaprio actually opposite a female that is the same age as him instead of all these younger girls that he always in real life sort of hangs around with. But Denver Woodward has some great set pieces and great phenomenal score. And I don't have much more to say about that. So that's it for these 2 episodes of The List Show. Come back here tomorrow for a brand new episode of Dylan Knows. We'll talk about what happened this week and Thanksgiving, stuff like that. And I still have a couple more list shows I might do. Okay, bye-bye.